I saw her in the sky before I ever saw her on paper. A line, audacious and slender, rising above the Seine like a spear carved from wind and iron. My finger traced that line on clean tracing paper, and the line became a tower. At the time it felt like I was sketching geometry, but in truth I was drawing defiance. My name is Gustave Eiffel, and this is the story of how we quarreled with gravity and bent it to our will. Paris in the late 1880s was a city drunk on invention. The boulevards smelled of ink and coffee and coal. In cafés, men argued about art, politics, electricity, steel. The Exposition Universelle of 1889 was approaching, the centennial of the Revolution, and France wanted a monument that would proclaim to the world, "We are modern, proud, unafraid of the future." I submitted a design, a vast lattice tower of wrought iron, for feet spread wide as a colossus, narrowing into the clouds. My engineers, Maurice Koechlin and Émile Noguier, had done the first studies. Architect Stephen Sylvester added arches and pavilions. I calculated the stresses, tested the wind resistance, ran numbers until my eyes blurred. And I knew it would stand. The government agreed. The critics did not. From the moment the plans were published, Paris roared with ridicule. "A monstrous factory chimney," they wrote, "a skeleton of rivets." 300 of the city's leading artists and writers signed a petition denouncing me. They declared my tower would desecrate the skyline, casting a shadow of iron across the poetry of Paris. I drank my morning coffee with their insults staring back at me from the newspaper, and each word was a hammer blow on my chest. But I was stubborn. The more they spat, the more I clenched my jaw. We broke ground in January 1887 on the Champ de Mars, near the Seine. At first the site was mud and shouting men. We had to drive foundations deep into the soil, 30 meters down in places, until water from the river threatened to drown our work. To fight it, we built wooden caissons, sealed them, and pumped in compressed air. My workers descended into those dim, echoing caverns and hammered at clay beneath the earth, sweating like miners in an underground forge. When they emerged, their faces were pale as parchment. Some coughed for days. Still, they returned. Then the iron rose, piece by piece, manufactured at my factory in Levallois-Perret, numbered and transported through Paris on horse-drawn carts. They arrived like ribs of some gigantic animal. Each weighed tons, each had to fit exactly. At the sight, cranes groaned, men shouted, sparks flew. The smell of hot metal and oil clung to our clothes. Riveters hammered day and night. More than 2 million rivets would hold the tower together, each one a tiny heartbeat in a giant's body. We had no scaffolding to hide behind. The 4 legs angled inward as they rose, meeting in great arches. To set them, we used hydraulic jacks, nudging the vast iron feet into perfect alignment. I remember standing beneath them, looking up as they leaned toward each other, and thinking, these are not legs, they are roots, anchoring Paris to the sky. The work became music. First came the fire boy, who heated the rivets until they glowed cherry red. Then the catcher, who snatched them with tongs as they flew through the air like comets. Then the holder, pressing the plates together. Finally the riveter, striking with his hammer, bang, 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 until the glowing rivet flattened into place. Sparks leapt, metal sang. This rhythm, multiplied across hundreds of men, was the heartbeat of the tower. Sometimes my men joked. "Master," said Bastien, the quickest of them, "what if the wind grows wild up here? What if we are blown away?" "You are tied to the tower," I told him, "and the tower is tied to my calculations." "And your calculations? What are they tied to?" "To conscience," I answered. They laughed, thinking it a joke. But I meant it. By spring 1888, the legs had risen above the rooftops. Now the whole city could see. Crowds gathered daily, gawking. Some sneered, waiting for the iron skeleton to collapse. But others, especially children, pointed upward with wide eyes. For them, wonder had already begun. The higher we climbed, the fiercer the wind became. The tower swayed ever so slightly, just as I had designed it to. My men clung to girders, their boots slipping on frost, their fingers numb. Accidents happened. 2 workers fell to their deaths. We buried them, and each time I lay awake all night, asking myself, was this worth their lives? Critics still called the tower a monstrosity. Sometimes, in the dark, I feared they were right. But the work pressed on. Inch by inch, meter by meter, Paris shrank beneath us. In March 1889, after 2 years, she was complete. 300 meters of iron lace, the tallest structure man had ever dared to build. Standing on her platforms, I felt the wind stroke my face, and Paris stretched below me like a gray and gold quilt, the Seine glittering like a ribbon of silver. On March 31st, I led officials and journalists up the wooden stairs, 1,710 steps. They panted, they cursed, they gasped at the height. But when we reached the summit, silence fell. From there, the city looked like a map laid flat. The dome of Les Invalides gleaming, Montmartre crouched in shadow, the boulevards like ribbons unspooled across the plain. I raised the French tricolor with my own hands. The flag cracked in the wind. Cannon thundered below. My critics had no words left, only open mouths staring. During the exposition, nearly 2 million people climbed the tower. Farmers in heavy boots, aristocrats in silk gloves, tourists from America and Japan. All of them gazed in awe. The same newspapers that had mocked me now clamored for photographs. The Iron Monster was reborn as a miracle. For me, the truest triumph came in a quieter moment. One evening, after the crowds had gone, I climbed alone to the second platform. The lamps of Paris flickered below like constellations. The tower's iron was cool under my palms. I leaned against the railing and listened. I could hear the wind humming through the girders, almost like breath. I felt gratitude for my men, for their blistered hands and fearless steps, for the stubborn dream that had withstood ridicule. People think monuments are made of stone and iron. They are wrong. The Eiffel Tower is made of sweat, of courage, of defiance hammered into steel. And though I will one day be dust, she will remain, pointing upward, a permanent conversation between earth and sky. Yes, they once called her ugly. They feared she would ruin Paris. But she did not ruin it, she redefined it. Children will grow up never knowing a city without her. Lovers will kiss beneath her legs. Painters will try to capture her lacework against the dawn. And somewhere, an old man will smile, remembering how people once laughed at a line he drew on paper. Sometimes, late at night, I return to the Champ de Mars. I walk slowly, cane tapping, and look up. The tower glows golden against the sky, her lamps buzzing softly. I place my hand on the iron, still warm from the day's sun, and whisper, "We did it. Not I alone, we. The fire boys, the riveters, the catchers, the men in the caissons breathing compressed air, the clerks who carried papers, even the critics who forced me to sharpen my resolve. We built her together. If you stand at her base and look upward, you will feel it, the pull of gravity, the defiance of iron, the leap of imagination. That is the true monument. Not just a tower, but a lesson carved in steel. That even against ridicule, even against fear, a man may trace a line toward the sky, and the world will follow.